Hey, you guys. So, I was born in 1977, which makes me very much a Gen Xer. I grew up in an analog world during the 1980s with rotary phones, VCRs, typewriters, 10 keys, cursive handwriting, Ataris, Cabbage Patch Dolls, and Saturday morning cartoons. But unlike older Gen Xers born in the 60s and early 70s, the 90s were my teenage years when I was in high school and college, the exact same time that we transitioned to a digital world of dial up internet, AOL chat rooms, GeoCities, pagers, car phones in a bag, and computer labs. I went into 1990 at the age of 12 and came out of 1999 at the age of 22, which means, generationally speaking, that I have a lot of the same experiences as the oldest millennials born in the early 80s. Now, why did I just tell you all of that? Because my birth year makes me not just a Gen Xer, it also makes me part of a small cohort known as Xennials or X-ennials. Those of us born in the late 70s and early 80s who had an analog childhood and then experienced a transition to digital as we became teenagers and young adults. We are the cuspers, a bridge from one world to another, the earliest adapters, and I think this is a big deal. Now, the official time frame for Xennials seems to be those of us born between 1977 and 1983, but we can't be that rigid about those years. As I found in discussions on X this past week, we could probably stretch that out to 1974-ish to 1986-ish, depending on where you were born and your family's socioeconomic status. But all of that is for a future video about Xennials that is currently in the works. One thing I do know is that this bridge generation is not people born between 1980 and 1990, and they are not called Centennials, no matter what this guy on X says. So anyways, today's video is all about Xennials and shows from the 1990s made specifically for teenagers and young adults of that time period. Remember, this was during the rise of Nickelodeon, the Disney Channel, and the creation of a new network made especially for teenagers, the WB, which, in fact, was my first job after college graduation. I was research director at the WB affiliate in Kansas City. That's how I know, without a doubt, that every show on that network during its entire decade-long run was aimed at viewers between the ages of 12 and 24, the Xennials. So join me as I go through this fantastic list of mostly forgotten 90s TV shows. And I've got to say, this may just be my favorite video in this series so far. I should note before we get started that I'm aware that a few of these shows were rebooted in recent years, but I choose not to recognize those reboots for many reasons. We are strictly talking OG shows from the 90s. So let's get into this. My name is Natalie, this is my so-called Gen X life, and here are TV shows from the 90s that you probably don't remember unless you're an Xennial. Of course, I must begin with the namesake of my channel, My So-Called Life, the show that's basically the Xennial bat signal. Airing in 1994 on ABC, this one-season wonder starred Claire Danes, born 1979, peak Xennial, as Angela Chase, a flannel-clad teen drowning in suburban angst. Created by Winnie Holtzman, it dropped us into the mid-90s like a time capsule full of Doc Martens, mixtapes, and that glorious pre-internet haze where you actually had to talk to people to figure out your drama. Angela's navigating high school with her crew, Jared Leto's Jordan Catalano, the brooding heartthrob with a literacy problem, AJ Langer's Ryan, the wild child we all secretly wanted to be, and Wilson Cruz's Ricky Vasquez, the soulful eyeliner-wearing bestie, breaking ground as one of TV's first openly gay teens. It was raw, messy, and canceled after 19 episodes because apparently ABC hates art and didn't get that we'd still be sobbing over it 30 years later. Fun fact, My So-Called Life did get a second life on MTV reruns because of course it did. Xennials don't let icons fade without a fight. My So-Called Life is the quintessential Xennial show because it is us in a nutshell, caught between Gen X cynicism and millennial optimism, living that analog to digital pivot. We were teens sneaking phone calls on coiled cords while the internet was still mostly a rumor, and Angela's identity crisis, dyeing her hair red, chasing bad boys, and overanalyzing every glance mirrored that awkward straddle. It's not just nostalgia, it's a cultural artifact of the 90s, when we were old enough to feel the world's weight, but young enough to think we could outrun it. Anyone born after 1986 does not qualify for this show. The mythical Centennials were not even in middle school yet before it was off the air, so this is by far an Xennial show for kids born in the late 70s and early 80s. My So-Called Life is Xennial turf, and we've got the emotional scars to prove it. Parker Lewis Can't Lose was a wildly inventive and quirky sitcom that ran on Fox from 1990 to 1993, delivering 73 episodes of high school hijinks over 3 seasons. It was the superior version of Ferris Bueller, and it starred Corin Nemec as Parker Lewis, a slick, fast-talking, cool kid schemer who outsmarted the system with a 90s twist. Wild camera angles, cartoonish sound effects, and plots like rigging the school election. Set at Santo Domingo High, Parker spent his time dodging a no-nonsense dictator with a vendetta, aka Principal Grace Musso, with his partners in crime Mikey and Jerry. The show's signature, a frenetic mix of surreal visuals, including whip pans and dream sequences tied to Parker's schemes, like rigging the PA system or dodging detention. Parker Lewis was our analog rebellion manual. We were teens, or wannabe teens at the time, idolizing Parker's swagger, plotting our own cafeteria coups between algebra and pogs. It's that bridge moment, Gen X's cynicism and Parker's smirk, millennial optimism and Jerry's nerd charm, all before digital life made their pranks obsolete. Airing Sundays at first, Parker Lewis bounced around Fox's schedule, eventually losing steam against tougher slots. But Xennials kept it alive on VHS with its catchphrase, "Not a problem," and that iconic synchronized watch check.
People say God looks out for the working man. Sure hope he's looking out for me.
The Torkelsons was a sitcom that debuted on NBC in September of 1991, airing 20 episodes in its first season before morphing into a new show called Almost Home, which ran for 13 more episodes in 1993, totaling 2 seasons and 33 episodes altogether. Here's what happened. Created by Lynn Montgomery and helmed by Michael Jacobs, the Torkelsons starred Connie Ray as Millicent Torkelson, a plucky single mom in Pyramid Corners, Oklahoma, juggling 5 kids: Dorothy Jane, played by Olivia Burnett, Stephen Floyd, Ruth Ann, Chucky Lee, played by Lee Norris, and Mary Sue, after her deadbeat husband, Randall, bails. Also in the cast in season 1 was William Shallert as quirky boarder Wesley Hodges. These first episodes, the show was a rural heartwarmer, complete with Xennial Dorothy Jane moon chatting from her bay window about her crushes. But the problem was, it tanked in the ratings after NBC moved the show to Sunday nights and put it up against 60 Minutes. Still, NBC didn't want to ditch this little gem of a show, so they retooled it to broaden the audience. They ditched the rural Oklahoma setting for Seattle, axed 2 kids, both Stephen and Ruth Ann, ghosted with no explanation, and they changed the name of the show to Almost Home. Millicent now had a new gig as a nanny for a guy named Brian Morgan, played by Perry King, and his pair of spoiled teens, Molly, played by Brittany Murphy, and Gregory, played by Jason Marsden. This massive change flipped the script from folksy struggles in the Torkelsons to an upstairs-downstairs type clash between the conservative Torkelsons and the liberal Morgans on Almost Home. Producers thought the urban vibe and Perry King's star power would hook more viewers, but it traded some of season 1's charm for broader sitcom tropes. Still, for 90s teens like me, the Torkelsons and Almost Home was a must-watch. I absolutely loved this show. I related so much to Dorothy Jane, the awkward young girl who was dreaming big while stuck in her small town of Pyramid Corners. Even with the revamp, Almost Home couldn't crack the ratings code, though. King's stiff comedy clashed with Ray's magic, and Chucky Lee's shift to wise-ass grated fans of his understated season 1 pre-Minkus hoot. The core audience loved Millicent and Dorothy Jane, but the contemporized setup didn't pull the masses. NBC axed it quickly after 11 episodes aired, with 2 more burned off in the summer of '93. Luckily, the Disney Channel reruns aired from 1994 to 1999 and kept it alive for Xennials, but the split identity of the folksy season 1 and the soapy season 2 made it a tough sell for syndication or revival. Too niche, too tampered with, and it faded as a 90s casualty of network meddling.
Man in the moon, tell me I was switched at birth. 2 look-alike babies got mixed up and sent to the wrong families. And for 14 years I've been forced to live as a Torkelson, while my actual family lives in Palm Beach and drives a Lincoln Continental.
Who are you talking to?
I'm talking to the man in the moon.
Say hi for me.
Major Dad was sitcom comfort food with a side of military starch. Running 1989 to 1993 on CBS, this 96-episode gem starred Simon and Simon alum Gerald McCraney as Major John McGillis, a conservative, hard-charging United States Marine Corps officer who marries single mom Polly, a liberal journalist with 3 kids. The series was set initially at the fictional Camp Singleton, meant to represent Camp Pendleton, where McGillis is the commander of the Infantry Training School's Acquisition Division. The plot revolved around McGillis's adjustment to family life, particularly as he became a stepfather to Polly's 3 daughters. The show incorporated real-world events, such as the 1991 Persian Gulf War, into its storylines, with Max staying stateside instead of deploying, which added a layer of contemporary relevance. It was kind of like Full House with push-ups, corny one-liners, family chaos, and that 90s laugh track we secretly miss. Debuting right after the Berlin Wall fell, Major Dad was peak Cold War hangover, patriotic but chill, and Xennials ate it up like SpaghettiOs. What made it so great? Well, we had the Major's old school grip, giving Gen X vibes, but we also loved the goofy warmth of family. It's that transition we watched as kids, then mocked it as teens. The show's portrayal of military family life, with its mix of comedy and serious undertones, likely shaped views on responsibility and community while fostering a sense of nostalgia for a simpler pre-digital era with family-friendly ethics and values. For many X-ennials, Major Dad is more than entertainment. It's a cherished piece of their cultural heritage. 15 was a teen soap that aired in the United States for 4 seasons and 65 episodes on Nickelodeon between 1991 to 1993. But apparently, outside of the United States, this show was known as Hillside. In one of my previous videos, I said that I considered Hey Dude to be the first teenage soap opera, but really, that was more of a comedy and a sitcom type of a thing. 15, on the other hand, was a straight-up drama and was shot on videotape just like network soaps. Originally produced and tested for the Disney Channel, 15 ended up on Nickelodeon after Disney decided not to move forward with it. The show was eventually syndicated around the world and became quite popular with junior high kids in the early 90s. 15 followed the students of Hillside School as they dealt with things like friendship and dating, alcohol and drug abuse, and parents getting divorced. The large ensemble cast featured Canadian child actors born in the late 70s, Xennials, like Ryan Reynolds, Laura Harris, and Inuku Akuma. 15 was actually Reynolds' first acting job, and he says he made $150 a day while playing the role of Billy Simpson. Filmed in Vancouver, 15 is a low-budget time capsule of early 90s teen woes, cafeteria showdowns, unrequited crushes, and locker room meltdowns, all with that earnest pre-CGI charm. Xennials ate up 15 like it was the last slice of cafeteria pizza. It's peak analog teen life. No texting, just passing notes and hoping your crush notices you by the vending machine. After school, we were glued to our TVs, relating to Matt's angst or Brooke's scheming as we fumbled through our own puberty. That raw, unpolished vibe, plus baby Ryan Reynolds, hits the Xennial sweet spot. Old enough to feel the drama, young enough to think it was profound.
Yeah, every time I see you, you're always going to some meeting. Do you really have to belong to 34 clubs?
There's not that many of them.
Okay, I lied. 33.
Just student government, the yearbook committee, and the drama club.
Plus intramural sports and the computer club.
Right. I forget about those sometimes.
So listen, you want to go down to the mall and see who's there?
I'd love to, but I gotta go home and do some homework.
Skate TV was a skateboard variety show that aired on Nickelodeon in the summer and fall of 1990, running for 13 episodes from July to October. Hosted by Matthew Lillard, billed as Matthew Lynn back then, pre-Scream fame, and Skate Master Tate, Perry Carmen, it was filmed at the Pink Motel in Sun Valley, California, a spot famous for its giant fish-shaped pool, perfect for shredding. Produced by Binder Entertainment's Nathan Pratt and Mark Ashton Hunt, with Stacey Peralta of Dogtown and Z-Boys fame directing, it blended on-set interviews with pro skaters like Tony Hawk, Christian Hosoi, and Natus Kopis, plus off-site action segments. The show pioneered handheld cameras and mixed film and video formats, giving it a raw, in-your-face feel. Think MTV's Skate Punk cousin, but for Nickelodeon's younger crowd. For young 90s teens, Skate TV was a rebel yell on wheels, blasting through Nickelodeon's usual slime-soaked lineup. We were the kids watching this that were ditching homework to ollie on homemade ramps. That was my brother. And this was a show that didn't just show skateboarding, it lived it. Matthew Lillard's manic energy and Skate Master Tate's cool as hell vibe were like your brother's punk tapes come to life, while seeing legends like Hawk and Hosoi shred that pink motel pool felt like a backstage pass to the scene. What made this show killer was the gritty handheld filming, shaky and real like you were there, mixed with pro tips and tricks we'd try and fail at the curb. It was pre-digital freedom, no YouTube tutorials, just pure analog adrenaline watched on grainy TVs as we dreamed of ditching suburbia for Venice Beach. This was our skate or die gospel. Ever heard of Malibu Shores? No? Exactly. Only Xennials caught this blink and you'll miss it soap. Airing in 1996 on NBC during my freshman year in college, this Aaron Spelling joint lasted 10 episodes before the network said, nah. It's Beverly Hills 90210 light. Rich kids like Chloe, played by Carrie Russell, clash with working class rebels like Zach in a beachside showdown. It had sun-bleached hair, forbidden romance, and plots so sudsy you could wash dishes with them. Carrie's pre-Felicity curls stole the show, but it was DOA, canceled faster than you can say primetime flop. Still, Xennial VHS warriors taped it religiously. Malibu Shores was 90s excess meets that analog to digital cusp. We were teens in 1996, swooning over Zach on rabbit-eared TVs with cable boxes while the internet was screaming over the phone lines. It's our awkward phase, old enough to crush on bad boys, young enough to think beach dramas were deep. Spelling knew our vibe, too cynical for Saved by the Bell, too early for the OC. Xennials owned this sandy soap, tan lines, and all.
Na, 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 na. Na, 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 na.
Clarissa Explains It All was a Nickelodeon sitcom that aired from March of 1991 to December of 1994, delivering 65 episodes over 5 seasons. Created by Mitchell Krigman, it starred Melissa Joan Hart as Clarissa Darling, a whip-smart teen in suburban Ohio who breaks the fourth wall to spill her life's quirks straight to us. Her world included Ferguson, her annoying little brother obsessed with money, Janet, her earthy architect mom, and Marshall, her laid-back dad who designs wacky buildings. Then there's Sam, her bestie, who climbs through her window with a ladder and a guitar riff. Filmed at Nickelodeon Studios in Orlando, Clarissa is peak Xennial in the early 90s. Overalls, scrunchies, and Clarissa's DIY bedroom with hubcaps and neon signs, mixing schemes like faking sick with surreal bits, video games starring her as a superhero. Clarissa Explains It All was my early teen life coach while I was navigating zits and crushes. Clarissa was us, sassy, clever, and totally over our dorky siblings. Bergface, anyone? That fourth wall break? Pure genius. She'd vent about Ferguson's schemes or Sam's chill vibe like we were her diary, making it feeling personal in a way pre-YouTube vlogs could only dream. Hart's deadpan delivery, those wild outfits and plots like tricking her parents with a faux report card, mirrored our own teen hustles with pre-digital realness. This was our 90s queen, explaining it all with a smirk.
On the Lord of Hero Hut, Nick. On the Lord of Hero Hut, Nick, Nick. On the Ricky Ticky Low while living number one Nickelodeon.
Can't wanna.
We hold you in our hearts.
And when we think about you, it makes me wanna fart.
Salute Your Shorts was a Nickelodeon sitcom that aired from July of 1991 to June of 1992, with 26 episodes across 2 seasons, though season 2 stretched into 92 reruns. Created by Steve Slavkin and based on his book Salute Your Shorts, Life at Summer Camp, it's set at the fictional Camp Anawana, a sweaty, mosquito-ridden utopia filmed at Franklin Canyon Park in LA. The cast is a 90s kid dream team. Danny Cooksey is Bobby Budnick, the redheaded prankster with a mullet. Michael Bauer is Eddie Donkey Lips Gelfin, the lovable oaf. Heidi Lucas as Dina Alexander, the rich girl. Venus DeMilo as Telly Radford, the jock. Eric MacArthur, later Blake Sennett as Michael Stein. And Megan Berwick as Zizi, Ziff, the quirky optimist. They're all under the thumb of Kevin Ugg Lee, the buzzkill counselor. Episodes like Zeke the Plumber with its campfire ghost story gone wrong, or The Cursed Skull, a treasure hunt, mixed slapstick like awful waffle pranks with summer camp chaos, all tied to that earworm theme song about holding Anawana in our hearts. Salute Your Shorts was our analog Camp Rebellion, a Nickelodeon lifeline watched on sticky summer afternoons or taped off cable for eternal rewinds. The kids who'd rather survive camp or dream of it, that's who we were, and this show nailed it. Bobby's schemes mirrored our own plots against babysitters, while Donkey Lip's awkward crush on Dina was every teen's unrequited fumble. What made this show awesome was the unpolished vibe. Cooksy's punky energy, Bauer's goofy heart, Lucas's sass. That Zeke episode scared us silly, and the pranks, like itching powder and shorts, were DIY gold we tried at home. It was pre-digital freedom, hitting that Xennial sweet spot of Gen X mischief and millennial camaraderie as we hit our early teens. It was our 90s camp gospel, mosquito bites and all.
Check this out.
The killer crossover. What's up, what's up, what's up?
NBA Inside Stuff was a slam dunk sports magazine show that aired on NBC from 1990 to 1998, with later reboots, but the 90s are the gold standard, running weekly for about 30 minutes during the NBA season. Hosted by Ahmad Rashad, ex-NFL star turned smooth-talking hoop guru, and a rotating cast like Willow Bay, Julie Moran, and Summer Sanders, it was the backstage pass to the NBA's golden era. Filmed with courtside access, it featured player profiles on Michael Jordan, Shaq, Penny Hardaway, and behind-the-scenes locker room bits, jam session highlights set to hip-hop beats. Created by NBA Entertainment, it aired Saturday mornings, often after cartoons, bridging kid-friendly vibes with teen swagger. NBA Inside Stuff was our courtside ticket to the coolest game on earth, beamed to TVs when Jordan ruled and baggy shorts were king. We were the kids trading basketball cards at recess or shooting hoops in driveways, and this show fed our obsession. Ahmad Rashad chatting up Charles Barkley or dunking with Grant Hill was like having a pro coach in your living room. What made this show great? The mix. Slick highlights, rewound on VHS till the tape wore out, player crib tours like Shaq's Arcade Room, and that 90s hip-hop soundtrack. Think Sweet Georgia Brown remixed with Fresh Prince vibes. It was raw and unfiltered, and it fed Gen X's love for trash talk swagger and our hunger for insider access in a pre-social media world. This was our 90s hardwood holy grail. Sister Sister was a sitcom that aired from April of 94 to May of 1999, spanning 6 seasons and 119 episodes, starting on ABC as part of the TGIF lineup before jumping to the WB in 1995. It starred real-life twins Tia and Tamara Mowry as Tia Landry and Tamara Campbell, identical sisters separated at birth, who reunite at the age of 14 in a Detroit mall. Tia's the studious good girl raised by single mom Lisa Landry, played by Jack A. Harry, a brassy seamstress, while Tamara's the wild child adopted by Ray Campbell, played by Tim Reed, a laid-back limo service owner. The show kicks off with them moving in together, sparking chaos with pals like Roger, their nerdy neighbor with a crush, and plots like The Meeting or Double Double Date. Has the twins swap hijinks. It's 90s family comedy gold, filmed with slapstick fashion, with overalls galore, and a funky theme song sung by Shanice. Sister Sister was an ABC to WB staple, filled with sibling switcheroos and laughs at Roger. Tia and Tamara mirrored our own teen push-pull, good grades versus good times. What made it awesome? The Mowrys, of course. Their real twin chemistry was electric, flipping from Tia's nerd sass to Tamara's rebel charm like we flipped between clicks. Jackie's over-the-top shade and Reed's dry wit grounded the show, while episodes, think sneaking into a party or faking a talent show, nailed our teenage schemes. This show literally doubled the 90s fun.
Say hello to your friends. Say hello to the people who care. Nothing's better.
Oh yes, the Babysitters Club, the show that turned babysitting into a power fantasy for the Oregon Trail generation. Dropping in 1990 on HBO, decades before they got all gritty with dragons, this gem ran for 13 episodes and was based on Anne M. Martin's book series. We've got Christy leading her squad of middle school moguls, Claudia, Stacy, Marianne, and Dawn, juggling kid wrangling with friendship drama in suburban Stony Brook. It's peak early 90s TV, perms, corded phones, and plots about missing pets or bake sale empires. Cancelled way too soon because it was very obviously on the wrong network, the Babysitters Club popped up on Nickelodeon reruns because we know a cult classic when we see one. Fun fact, a pre-party of 5 Brie Blair played Stacy. Talk about a glow-up. What makes this an Xennial hidden gem is the analog hustle. Those girls ran a business with a notebook and a dream. No apps required. Sweet Valley High was a syndicated teen show that aired between September of 94 and October of 97. It gave us 88 episodes across 4 seasons. It was based on Francine Pascal's iconic book series, and it starred real-life twins Cynthia and Brittany Daniel as Elizabeth and Jessica Wakefield. They were polar opposite sisters, ruling the sun-soaked halls of Sweet Valley High in California. Created by Josh Goldstein and Jonathan Prince, the show was a glossy 90s soap with Elizabeth as the sweet, studious writer and Jessica as the scheming cheerleader, flanked by a dreamy cast of friends and mean girls. Episodes like Dangerous Love or Kidnapped mixed romance, rivalry, and over-the-top drama, all drenched in miniskirts, old-school cell phones, and that 90s pop soundtrack vibe. Sweet Valley High was another one of my favorite after-school soap opera fixes. As one of the kids who devoured the books growing up and drooled over Todd's Letterman jacket and lived vicariously through the Wakefield's perfect tans and perfect problems, this was my teen dreams and dramas dialed to 11, and it was on television. What made it awesome was the 90s gloss, the hair gel, glitter eyeshadow, and plots like a prom night sabotage. It was a perfect mix of Gen X melodrama and millennial shine. Tribes is the Fox soap opera that you've never heard of unless you're an Xennial who grew up in a big city and had a VCR in your family. Launched in 1990, this daily teen soap ran for 65 episodes, 5 days a week, and it was 30 minutes of pure chaos. Described by creator Leah Lehman as a cross between a daytime soap opera, MTV, and an after-school special, Tribes followed a group of Southern California teenagers and was aimed at a teen and preteen audience before they began their homework or went out for the evening. Tribes was not only about a group of teens and their relationships with each other, it was also about their relationships with their parents. Lehman noted that the focus of the show was, quote, how children respond to what's happening in their families. Tribes attempted to explore more controversial issues at times, but Lehman said they had issues with standards and practices. She explained, quote, we have to be very careful, especially with an issue like abortion, which is obviously very volatile. I've had to draw a fine line between my beliefs and wanting to espouse them to every character on the show and what other people believe. We have to be careful not to offend to such an extreme that we will lose viewers. This is an entertainment show, it's not a soapbox. Tribes premiered on March 5th, 1990 in the 6:30 time slot on the Fox-owned stations in Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, Washington, Dallas, Houston, and Boston, with the ultimate goal of having it syndicated nationwide. Touted as the first American youth-oriented serial drama, Tribes ended up running for just 19 weeks before the series was canceled, and it aired its final episode on July 13th, 1990.
Surf dudes with attitudes, kinda groovy, laid back moves.
Okay, so I talked about this show in my original Gen X TV show video, but I admit that it did not fit in that video. So I'm bringing it up again because it can't be ignored, and I wanted to hear the theme song again. California Dreams was a sitcom that aired on NBC's TNBC, or Teen NBC, Saturday morning block from September of 92 to December of 96, spanning 5 seasons and 78 episodes. Created by writers Brett Dewey and Ronald Solomon, and executive produced by Peter Engel, the Saved by the Bell mastermind, it was set in the fictional Pacific Coast High near Los Angeles, where a teen band, originally dubbed the Garrison Family, chased fame. The lineup started with Matt Garrison on guitar, Jenny on keyboards, Tony Wicks on drums, and Sly Winkle as the scheming manager, with Jake Summers as the bad boy bassist joining in season 2 after Jenny exited the show and was replaced by Kelly Packard as Tiffany Smith. Honestly, there was a big shakeup between the first couple of seasons, and I'm not going to explain it. If you know, you know. Episodes mixed band gigs, like playing Castles on Quicksand with 90s teen plots, beach dates, rival bands, or Sly's get-rich-quick flops. It was filmed with surfboards and sunsets, and it's bubblegum pop TV with catchy original tunes like This Time and a rotating door of cast changes. California Dreams was our Saturday morning rock star fantasy, a TNBC escape. What made it fun was the music, those sugary hooks that get stuck in our heads. The vibe was pure 90s, surf shorts, flip-flops, and plenty of drama. It was pre-digital bliss, with Engel's knack for cheesy but lovable tropes, like Saved by the Bell with a tan. This was our Cali Cool 90s anthem, and it was live from their garage.
Everybody needs someone you can hold on to me all night long. And if you lean on me, I will lean on you. Put your hand in mine. We can
Welcome Freshmen was a Nickelodeon comedy that aired between February of 1991 and February of 1994, spanning 3 seasons and 52 episodes, with reruns lingering until 1996. Created by Bob Mittenthal, it was set in the fictional Hawthorne High School, where a crew of freshmen, Merv, Alex, Tara, Kevin, and Walter, navigated high school under the bumbling vice principal Elliot Lippman. Of course, it was filmed at Nickelodeon Studios in Orlando, Florida. And Welcome Freshmen started off as a sketch show with theme bits like Money or Bullies, and featured oddball segments like Mortis the Safety Tortoise dishing safety tips, Mr. History, a teacher riffing on past freshmen, and Lippman's cringe stand-up fantasies. But by season 3, it had shifted to a sitcom format, with Merv and Tara exiting the show, with Merv skipping on to college and Tara joining a biosphere, and they were replaced by newbies Manny, Aaron, and Grant. It was raw 90s Nickelodeon, grunge light, theme song, low budget sets, and pure teenage absurdity. For Xennials, Welcome Freshmen was cynical, silly fun where kids outsmarted the adults and got away with it. That shift from sketch show to sitcom kept the chaos, but it added a little depth. It was pre-digital rebellion, nailing that Xennial straddle of Gen X snark and millennial goofiness as we ruled our teens. This was kind of like a high school boot camp. It was raw and it was ridiculous.
Oh, come on. The thing about our school is that it's like a fashion show every day. I mean, everyone's so obsessed with how they look.
Yeah, especially girls. And especially not you.
Kevin is right. It's okay to be concerned about your appearance, but really it's not what you look like, but who you are.
See? There's hope for you,
We're
Merv.
the guys. We're the guys next door. We're the guys next door. Whoa.
Guys Next Door was an American series that aired after Saved by the Bell for just one short season on NBC from 1990 to 1991. Part New Kids on the Block, part Monkeys, the Guys Next Door were a boy band that lived together in a big house and performed comedy skits and spoofs while making music, juggling gigs, and chasing girls. The show starred Patrick J. Dancy, Eddie Garcia, Bobby Leslie, Chris Wolf, and Damon Sharp. They were actually a real-life band who was signed to SBK Records, and they released a self-titled album. The episodes also featured some of their music videos, including one for their kind of hit, I've Been Waiting For You. Because Saturday mornings on the networks were supposed to feature educational content for children due to the Children's Television Act signed by George H.W. Bush, Guys Next Door sparked criticism from parents, teachers, and media experts. This led to the show's cancellation after just one season, and that law signed by Bush caused NBC to completely eliminate children's programming in the summer of 1992. Where in the World is Carmen San Diego was a PBS game show that aired between September of 1991 and December of 1995, racking up 295 episodes across 5 seasons. Hosted by Greg Lee, with Lynn Thigpen as the commanding chief, it was based on the Broderburn software game, and it featured kid contestants, or gumshoes, and geography trivia to catch the elusive Carmen San Diego, a trench-coated thief voiced in spirit by Rita Moreno. Set in the Acme CrimeNet headquarters, this game show was a whirlwind of skits with crooks like Robo-Crook or Patty Larceny, played by a rotating improv cast. There were lightning round quizzes and a giant map finale where winners nabbed Carmen's goons. Rockapella, the house a cappella crew, belted out the unforgettable theme, Where in the World is Carmen? I'm not going to sing it. And goofy interludes, all filmed in New York with a 90s public TV budget vibe. Think bright vests and oversized props. I can't hardly talk today. Where in the World is Carmen San Diego was our after-school brain flex. It was a PBS gem watched on clunky TVs by kids who'd graduated from Sesame Street but weren't ready for MTV, shouting Moscow or Brazil at the screen like we were geography gods, all while secretly crushing on Greg Lee's dorky charm or Thigpen's boss energy. What made this show killer was the mix of being so smart but silly. Rockapella's beatboxing henchman songs were pure 90s gold, and it was just wrapped in pre-digital stakes where you couldn't Google the answers. That map round with its frantic marker-dropping chaos was a teen adrenaline rush. When a trip to nowhere we'd actually go. This was our globe-trotting 90s triumph. Moesha was a sitcom that aired on UPN from January of 96 through May of 2001, spanning 6 seasons and 127 episodes. Created by Ralph Farquhar, Sarah Finney, and Vitus Spears, it starred Brandy Norwood as Moesha Mitchell, a sharp-witted high schooler and later college student in Los Angeles' Leimert Park, a real-life black cultural hub. She had to navigate life with her dad Frank, played by William Allen Young, a car salesman turned widower, her stepmom Dee, played by Cheryl Lee Ralph, a vice principal with no-nonsense sass, and her little brother Miles, played by Marcus T. Paulk, a pint-sized pest. Her crew included Hakeem Campbell, played by Lamont Bentley, and he was her ride-or-die crush, Kim Parker, played by Countess Vaughn, her loudmouth bestie, and Niecy Jackson, played by Shar Jackson, her loyal sidekick. Episodes of Moesha would mix comedy with real talk and issues about racism, teen pregnancy, family loss, set to 90s R&B beats, and of course Brandy's velvet voice in that theme song. It was a Tuesday night staple that flipped the 90s script with black teen stories front and center. Moesha was the first show I remember watching on UPN. Brandy wasn't just a pop star, she was Moesha, bringing soul and sass to every eye roll at Dee's Rules or Frank's Lectures. The show balanced laughs with depth, like Mo facing her mom's death or dating Q, and it hit us right in our teen feels. It was 90s teen realness, bridging Gen X's edge with millennial growth as we owned our late teens and entered into our 20s. Younger generations may have caught reruns, but this was our primetime queen, ruling the decade's end with style. Swans Crossing was a syndicated American teen soap opera that aired during the summer of 1992. It was set in the ritzy town of Swans Crossing, and it followed rich kids like Sydney Rutledge, played by Sarah Michelle Gellar pre-Buffy, and Garrett Booth, played by Shane McDermott, mixing romance, rivalry, and over-the-top secrets like hidden treasures or fake identities. Other familiar faces in the cast included Mira Sorvino, Brittany Daniel, Stacey Mosley, and Susan Ward. Created by Marty Kravitz and Ned Candle, Swans Crossing aired daily, targeting after-school crowds with its 90s fashion and melodramatic flair. The series was taped at Kaufman Astoria Studios in Queens, which was also the home of Sesame Street and The Cosby Show. Like 15, the show was filmed on videotape and shot and edited in a way to resemble a traditional adult daytime soap opera. This daily drama had plots fueled by first loves, secret relationships, and phony birth certificates, but the major birth swap storyline was never resolved. After 65 episodes, the final show ended with a to-be-continued sign, but it never was, which left a lot of viewers disappointed. Turns out Swans Crossing wasn't a long-term relationship, it was just a sudsy summer fling.
13, 12, 11.
Garrett!
Sydney! Sydney! 1. Stop!
Hang Time was a teen sitcom that aired on NBC's TNBC Saturday morning block from September of 95 all the way through December of 2000, over 6 seasons and 104 episodes. It was set at the fictional Deering High School in Deering, Indiana, where the Tornadoes basketball team gets a shakeup when Julie Connor, a transfer student and hoops phenom, joins the all-boys squad. The roster included Reggie Theus as Coach Bill Fuller in the first 3 seasons, and then he was replaced by Dick Butkus as Coach Mike Katowinski in seasons 4 through 6. There were also players like Teddy, who was played by Anthony Anderson, Danny, Vince, and Mary Beth. Think Saved by the Bell with jump shots. Their episodes mixed court action with 90s teen staples like dating drama, pranks, and the occasional very special episode about drinking or teamwork. For many 90s teens, Hang Time was a TNBC Saturday ritual. What made it rad was the vibe, a mix of goofy locker room banter, complete with Anthony Anderson's pre-Blackish charm and he was just stealing the scenes. There was legit b-ball action. Reggie Theus was a brought the real NBA cred, and there was that 90s optimism where every problem, like cheating scandals and rival teams, got solved in 22 minutes. This is a guilty pleasure of mine. Popular was a WB dramedy that aired from September of 1990 through June of 2001, delivering 43 episodes across 2 seasons. This was created by Ryan Murphy and Gina Matthews, and it was set at Jacqueline Kennedy High in LA, where cheerleader Brooke McQueen, played by Leslie Bibb, and rebel journalist Sam McPherson, played by Carly Pope, clash as polar opposite stepsisters after their parents, Brooke's dad Mike and Sam's mom Jane, hook up. The popular ensemble was a 90s teen dream. We had Tammy Lynn Michaels as Nicole Julian, the vicious queen bee, Christopher Gorham as Harrison John, the nerdy everyman, Bryce Johnson as Josh Ford, the hot jock, Sarah Rue as Carmen Ferreira, the constant dreamer, and Leslie Grossman as Mary Cherry, the unhinged Texan heiress. Episodes mixed satire, think prom queens versus geeks, with Murphy's signature bite. Popular was a Thursday night snarkfest, a WB gem. Now, fun fact, I was working for the WB when this show was on the air. Like I said earlier, this was my first job out of college, research and marketing director for the WB affiliate in Kansas City. And like I said earlier, I can say with absolute certainty that the WB network was made for and targeted at Xennials during its brief run. Trust and believe there are many more WB shows on this list. But back to Popular. This show was a teen revenge fantasy. Brooke's perfect ponytail versus Sam's grunge vibe was every hallway showdown we'd lived, while Nicole's savage takedowns and Mary Cherry's OTT meltdowns, stealing a baby Jesus, had us cackling. What made it killer was Murphy's twisted genius. It roasted teen tropes, cheerleaders, jocks, prom, with a dark edge. That felt raw, not preachy, all wrapped in late 90s gloss, complete with glitter tops and flip phones. I would call this a late 90s cult classic. It's sharp and unapologetic.
The WB.
Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more.
Unhappily Ever After was a WB sitcom that aired from January of 1995 through May of 1999, delivering 100 episodes across 5 seasons. This show was created by Ron Levitt and Arthur Silver. They were veterans of Married with Children, and it starred Jeff Pearson as Jack Malloy, a boozy, schizophrenic used car salesman who talked to Mr. Floppy, a stuffed bunny voiced by Bobcat Goldthwait with unhinged glee. Stephanie Hodge played Jenny, his bitter ex-wife, until she bolted in season 4, while Kevin Connolly was Ryan, their dim-willed son, and Nikki Cox was Tiffany, the hot, brainy daughter. Justin Bearfield joined the cast later as Ross, the youngest chaos agent. It was set in a crumbling LA suburb, and Unhappily Ever After was a dark riff on family life with Hit the Road Jack as the theme and plots like Jack faking his death or Tiffany outsmarting everyone. It was Married with Children on acid with a bunny. For 90s teens, Unhappily Ever After was a twisted WB escape, a finger to sitcom schmaltz that featured Jack's basement rants with Floppy, a foul-mouthed sage who said what we couldn't. Nikki Cox's Tiffany was a teen magnet, smart, sexy, and untouchable, flipping the dumb blonde trope on its head while we drooled or dreamed of her wit. What made it good? The edge. It was crude, un-PC, and it didn't care. Ryan's idiocy, think Proto-Reese from Malcolm, Jenny's venom, and Floppy's psychotic quips were a punk rock kick to the Full House era. This was a dysfunctional 90s jam, loud and unfiltered.
We're brothers, we're happy and we're singing and we're colored.
The Wayans Brothers was a WB sitcom that aired from January of 95 to May of 1999, over 5 seasons and 101 episodes. Created by Sean Wayans, Marlon Wayans, and Leslie Ray, it starred Sean and Marlon as the Williams brothers, Sean, the smooth-talking hustler, and Marlon, the wild-eyed dreamer, running a newsstand in Harlem's Niedermeyer building. John Witherspoon stole scenes as their dad, Pops, a diner owner with razor-sharp zingers, and Anna Marie Horsford joined the cast later as Dee, the sassy security guard. Their love interests, Lisa and Monique, added spice to the chaos. Episodes like The Sean Shank Redemption, Or Pop's Secret, mixed slapstick like Marlon's pratfalls with 90s black comedy flair. It's Wayans family DNA, raw, loud, and proud. For 90s teens, we were hooked on the brothers' chemistry, Sean's cool kid swagger, and Marlon's unhinged energy were our teen yin and yang. What made it fire was the vibe. It was fast, physical, and fearless. Pops roasting his sons or Dee's eye rolls at their schemes hit like a family group chat before we all had cell phones in our pocket. The 90s black sitcom wave, Martin and Living Single, was peaking, and this show brought Harlem hustle to the suburbs, blending Gen X's sharp humor with our teen craving for chaos as we own the decade's end.
Ah, hell. We paid for it.
Enrique? Could we hear Bow Down by the West Side Connection, please? Here, yeah! My hair be so breezy, I could cook some chicken.
Doogie Howser, MD, was an ABC dramedy that aired from 1989 to 1993, spanning 97 episodes. Created by TV titans Stephen Bochco and David E. Kelly, this series starred Neil Patrick Harris as Douglas Doogie Howser, who zipped through med school and landed as a resident doctor at Eastman Medical Center in LA by the age of 16. The boy genius spends each episode trying to balance his medical career with his puberty-fueled teenage problems. Alongside him are Max Casella as his wisecracking best bud Vinny, who climbs through Doogie's window regularly to share his latest schemes, and Lisa Dean Ryan as Doogie's on-again, off-again girlfriend Wanda, who kept him grounded as best she could. This show was a huge hit with X-ennials, who worshipped Doogie. I was right there with them. He was our analog era hero on family TV every Wednesday night. This show was a mix of heart and hijinks, and that iconic journal typing outro, pure 90s gold.
This is Herman Brooks. Herman is just like the rest of us. Every day.
Herman's Head was a quirky series that ran on Fox from September of 1991 to April of 1994, dishing out 72 episodes across 3 seasons. It was created by Andy Guerdot and Steven Kreinberg, and it was kind of like a Pixar's Inside Out in sitcom form. It starred William Ragsdale as Herman Brooks, a fact checker at Waterton Publishing in New York, whose inner thoughts are a sitcom within a sitcom. Inside his head, 4 personas duke it out: Angel, the moral compass; Animal, the lust-driven id; Wimp, the anxious mess; and Genius, the smug intellect. There were also 2 special guest personas in his head throughout the series: Jealousy, played by Bobcat Goldthwait, and God, played by Leslie Nielsen. Outside of his head, Herman is dealing with work and his boss, Mr. Bracken, as well as Hetty the office flirt. He also has 2 pals, Jay, played by Hank Azaria, and Louise, played by Yeardley Smith, who was already voicing Lisa Simpson at the time. Airing on Sunday nights, this was a 90s oddball comedy with workplace gags and surreal brain battles, like choosing between a date or a deadline. For 90s teens, especially Xennials, Herman's Head was a mind-blowing mirror of our chaotic heads, beamed straight to our analog TVs. We were stumbling through high school at the time, and first jobs, wrestling with hormones, insecurities, and big decisions. Should I ask them out, study for the test, sneak a beer? And here was Herman, literally acting it out with a Greek chorus of cartoonish voices. It was smart but silly and edgy for Fox's lineup. It didn't talk down to us, it laughed with us, nailing that Xennial straddle of Gen X cynicism and millennial absurdity. It's a perfect 90s headspace.
What's my theme music?
Hanging with Mr. Cooper was an ABC sitcom that aired from September of 1992 to August of 1997, over 5 seasons and 101 episodes. It eventually, I think in season 2 or 3, was part of the TGIF block on Friday nights, the big thing that they used to do on ABC. Anyways, this show was created by Jeff Franklin, the same guy who gave us Full House, and it starred Mark Curry as Mark Cooper, a former Golden State Warriors player turned Oakland substitute teacher and coach. During season 1, he shared a house with Vanessa Russell, played by Dawn Lewis, a sharp-tongued real estate agent, and Robin Dumars, played by Holly Robinson Peete, a music teacher. In later seasons, he was joined by Nicole Lee, played by Raven-Symoné, his precocious cousin, and her mom, Geneva Lee, played by Sandra Quarterman. Rounding out the cast was Omar Gooding, who popped in as Irvin Rodman, Mark's hoops-obsessed student, and Nell Carter as PJ Moore. Episodes of Hanging with Mr. Cooper mixed 90s slapstick like Mark's slam dunk fails with family warmth, all set to a jazzy theme by En Vogue. This show was more Xennial comfort food as we idolized Mark's baller cool, those high-top fades and Warriors jerseys, and we laughed at his classroom flops, seeing our own teachers in his chill chaos. Curry's stand-up swagger brought the laughs, while Raven-Symoné's pint-sized sass was our pre-teen proxy. Hell to the yes, we have made it to Dawson's Creek. This was an iconic Xennial drama that aired on the WB from January of 1998 through May of 2003, spanning 6 seasons and 128 episodes. Created by Kevin Williamson, it was set in the fictional Cape Side, Massachusetts, a sleepy coastal town where Dawson Leary, played by James Vanderbeek, a Spielberg-obsessed dreamer, navigated love and life with Joey Potter, played by Katie Holmes, the whip-smart girl next door, Pacey Witter, played by Joshua Jackson, the charming screw-up, and Jen Lindley, played by Michelle Williams, the troubled New York transplant. Supporting players like Mary Margaret Humes and John Wesley Shipp played Dawson's parents, plus Kerr Smith as Jack McPhee, who got a landmark gay storyline, one of the first of its kind, and Meredith Monroe as his sister Andy. They rounded out the Angst Fest. Episodes like The Scare or The Dance mixed big words, longing stares, and boat trips, all set to 90s alt-pop. Paula Cole's I Don't Want to Wait became our anthem. This was peak teen soap with a cinematic gloss. For 90s high schoolers and college students, Dawson's Creek was our Wednesday night emotional lifeline, a WB obsession watched on analog TVs as we scribbled in journals or chatted on AOL. My college roommate and I watched this show religiously from episode 1. Dawson's film geek rant spoke to my nerdy soul, and Pacey's rebel charm had us picking teams like it was a sport. Seriously, I still swoon over Joshua Jackson to this day. What a smoke show. But what really made Dawson's Creek epic was the dialogue. Teens talking like 30-year-old poets felt absurdly real to our overdramatic hearts, paired with the cast that oozed chemistry. It was the last of the pre-digital romances. No swiping, just dockside confessions, hitting that Xennial sweet spot of Gen X introspection and millennial passion as we ruled our late teens into our 20s. That creek was our 90s therapy couch. This was our live-action heartbreak, raw and unstreamed. But if you want to stream it now, you can on Hulu or Disney+. But for me, I'll just break out my sweet box set whenever I get the urge for a Pacey fix.
So look, Pacey, I just found my mother's bracelet this morning, so why don't you cut me some slack?
Remember that?
I remember everything.
Can you become a new version of you?
Okay, before I start this segment, I must give a full confession. I love Felicity. I own the box set, I watch it every year like clockwork, and I'm currently in the middle of my 2025 watch, and I just made it into season 3. This show premiered when I was in college, and like Dawson's Creek, we watched it religiously on Wednesday nights. So Felicity was a WB drama that aired from September of 1998 through May of 2002, spanning 4 seasons and 84 episodes. It was created by J.J. Abrams and Matt Reeves, and it starred Carrie Russell as Felicity Porter, a Palo Alto high school grad who ditches Stanford pre-med to follow her crush, Ben Covington, played by Scott Speedman, all across the country to the fictional University of New York. She's thrown into dorm life with Noel Crane, played by Scott Foley, the geeky RA who pines for her, Julie Emmerich, played by Amy Jo Johnson, her guitar-strumming BFF, and Elena Tyler, played by Tangi Miller, the no-nonsense pre-med ace. Episodes of Felicity mixed 90s college chaos, art studios, coffee shops, and midterms with mixtape vibes thanks to the iconic music used in every episode. This show was a slow burn soap, complete with Russell's iconic curls and that infamous haircut controversy in season 2 that shook the fandom. For Xennials like myself, Felicity was a WB must watch. Felicity and her cross-country leap for Ben reflected our own reckless what-ifs, while her Ben versus Noel debates had us picking sides like it was a referendum on our own love lives. I will never forget the night that season 2 premiered. I was living at Jayhawk Towers at the University of Kansas, and every door on the floor was open, and we were all watching to see if Felicity chose to go with Ben or Noel at the end of season 1. We had waited an entire summer to find out the answer, and I still to this day remember the screams on the hall when her choice was revealed. What made Felicity absolute gold was the vibe. Those quiet, introspective voiceovers, Felicity's tapes to Sally, they felt like pre-blog confessions, paired with a cast that absolutely nailed it. Russell's wide-eyed hope, Speedman's brooding cool, and Foley's earnest dorkiness. And that haircut drama, it was our 90s water cooler moment. Seriously, I'm going to pause working on this video for a moment and go watch another episode. I love this show.
So here's the thing. I've made a decision. I'm not flying home by myself. I didn't have to make a decision between Ben and Noel, but I did.
Life Goes On was a drama series that aired on ABC from September of 1989 to May of 1993, spanning 4 seasons and 83 episodes. The show centered on the Thatcher family with a particular focus on their son, Charles Corky Thatcher, portrayed by Chris Burke, who has Down syndrome. The dad in the family was Drew, a former construction worker turned restaurant owner and Special Olympics coach. Libby was the mom, who was also an ex-singer. And the Xennial in the cast was Kelly Martin as Becca Thatcher, Corky's younger sister navigating high school and social challenges. There was also an older sister in the family named Paige, Drew's daughter from a previous marriage. Set in suburban Chicago, Life Goes On captured the 90s aesthetic with its fashion, music, and portrayal of American family life, offering a mix of drama, comedy, and heartfelt moments, often tackling issues like disability, education, and family dynamics. What made Life Goes On the perfect Xennial TV show was its deep resonance with our cohort. We were in middle school and high school at the time, and the show was a staple of our weekly television routine, usually watched on traditional TV sets in the living room, often with our parents, embodying the analog childhood that defines us before the digital age took hold. The show's themes of family, acceptance, and perseverance mirrored our experiences as we navigated our own family lives and personal growth, particularly during a time of significant social and technological change. Its groundbreaking portrayal of Corky, played by an actor with Down syndrome, was progressive for the era, fostering empathy and understanding among young viewers. This educational aspect likely shaped many Xennials' worldview, making the show a cultural touchstone that continues to evoke nostalgia. Critically acclaimed, with Burke winning a Golden Globe in 1990 for Best Supporting Actor, the show's impact is evident in its lasting fan reception, remembered fondly for its honest depiction of disability and family bonds. Life Goes On is more than entertainment. It's a cherished piece of our cultural heritage, reflecting a simpler, pre-digital era that I still hold very dear. And I'm going to end this video right here. If you stayed with me until now, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If you'd like to become a member like these fine people here, you can do so by clicking join right below this video. And if I missed your favorite show, check out my You Don't Know This Show playlist and hit that notification bell so you'll know when I drop the next video in the series. Okay, bye!
Well, you want some fun? Sing, oh, bloody, bloody, hey! Woo!